District can go on my site and learn anything they want.
He launched the company.
Helped create out the newest star of the tech world.
All right,
Reach that age
here go
for another
Injustice.
6 years, but Michelle Miller shows us how he is already seeing his dreams pay off.
So this is the school to millionaire pipeline I was talking to y'all about. Remember, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And acquiescence is sitting idly by in silence. And when you sit by in silence, acquiesce says you've given consent. When you haven't protested, not Black Lives Matter, not civil rights protests, gatekeeper protests, gatekeeper, watchmen protest. The gatekeeper on the wall prevents the enemy from coming in and sowing weeds that choke out the seed and the fruit that's growing. It's the gatekeeper's job. All throughout the history of God's children, it was the gatekeeper who would prevent the deception from entering the city and defiling the people and leading the people astray and away from God. That's the protest. You don't have no right to protest, right to a free assembly, which the Creator already gave you a right to protest because He said the power of life and death is in the tongue. So the same people who come and created the prosperity inequality going to act like they're giving you something by telling you you got the right to protest. Why do I need the right to protest if I was given inalienable rights to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness? If I was given liberty, if I am independent and have liberty, why do I need to protest? The reason they had to give you a right to protest was because the same politicians who were sent to manage the day-to-day operations in the colonial slave trade were the same ones that wrote the laws to recreate after a Declaration of Independence was put in place. It wasn't until 1871 that they turned this whole thing into a corporation. 1865 was the Civil War. The Civil War bankrupted the economy. So then their politicians were able to say, well, listen, if you want outside help, if you want outside funds, you got to sign this agreement. The same way the Pope sat back and signed the treaty saying, yo, this person can have this part, and this person can have that part, and this person can have that, and this king can have that. They forced the president to come back and be like, all right, y'all gonna have to say, yo, y'all under our jurisdiction. You can tell the people what you want to tell them. Tell them they free all they want. Matter of fact, tell them they got some rights. They got the right to free speech. We're going to take away that old right to life and liberty thing. No, you got a right to free speech. You got a right to assemble. You got a right to protest. When the Father has said, beloved, I wish above all things that thou may prosper. That thou may prosper, be in health, even as your soul spiritually prospers. I done already took care of the spiritual prosperity because I done gave you my son. I done gave you all of heaven. Now I want you to get the physical, tangible resources of being my children. tangible prosperity and health. We're going to look at a school to millionaire pipeline. First step in the inequality, prosperity inequality.
Do people ever call you Smarty Pants?
No.
No. Maybe they should. Eric Finman is the founder of Botangle, an online education program that links students with instructors around the world. A pretty remarkable accomplishment considering he's only 15 years old.
So you can see all the best teachers. Oh, there I am. Fine.
That's even younger than his mentor, Alexis Ohanian, was when he started the online community Reddit, at the ripe old age of 22.
All right. So take note. You got a 15-year-old now who has already at this point made hundreds of thousands of dollars and then has reinvested in an online community. And he now has a mentor, Keith. Remember I told you, all throughout my days of Pine Forge Academy, of Oakwood University, everywhere I've gone, Full Sail University, everywhere I've gone, we have understood that the only thing that the solution to destroying the school to prison pipeline, listen, we've been doing this for 21 years, that the solution to the school to prison pipeline is access to inspiration, empowerment, development, and financial capitalization. 4 parts: inspiration, empowerment. Empowerment is what he's getting right here. Once again, to all of my athletes, this comes natural to us, but nobody applies it to business. We've applied it to business. It comes natural to us. What we do in football and basketball is empowerment. You see this? This is the coach. This is the financial coach. He's 26 years old. He's a multi-millionaire, probably a billionaire. He created Reddit, the online social community. He's 26 now. He created Reddit when he was like 21 or something. Once again, I'm telling y'all, they have a school to millionaire pipeline, and they cranking it out over and over and over again by using a simple system. First of all, when they're young, they give them access to the capital resources. The 15-year-old got access to capital resources at 12 and invested it. Then he attracted a mentor who told him how to take the money that he invested and put it into a business. And this dude is now mentoring. So this is the coach. The business is the football field. Do our young people thrive when they show up to practice every day and they put the passion and they put the work in and the time in? It ain't about talent. It's about the skills that you develop going through the training of day-to-day grinding practice. That is empowerment. Inspiration is the drive to get up off your butt and do something with the talent that you have. That's inspiration. That's what I use access to ET for. ET is the drive that I've been using for 21 years to get people up off their butt and be like, listen, if this man could be homeless, high school dropout, eating out of garbage cans, and understand that he has an ability to speak and command attention. His motivational speaking is the same as our young people's ability in singing, in playing sports, track, whatever. But if you don't take the inspiration of, yo, I got this talent, and then you don't empower that talent through going through a rigorous training to develop the skills to be able to execute that talent on a professional, global level where people want to consume that skill, that is what the oppressive system of prosperity inequality has made sure does not get to our community. And we are in the business of making sure that all of our young people get access to that. I'm just showing you that this is what they doing. And there's nothing stopping us. But we ain't competing. And acquiescence says we giving consent for them to keep robbing our young people like this. When we just go try and chase them degrees. When we don't stand up and say, yo, this is discrimination. We're going to pool our resources and we're going to put tangible resources in reach and striking distance of our young people, and we're going to train them and mentor them, and we're going to take them in whatever it is they want to do. We ain't going to tell them you need to go do this. No. What inspires you? What will get you up off the couch? And we have built a network. None of our young people can come up with anything that we don't already have in place. People who are the best in the world at doing exactly what they want to do, that they inspired to do. All we say is, all right, I got a coach, but you better not waste. This ain't school. This ain't your educational system. The educational system is designed to just have them come and waste time and never get a skill. By design, that's why it's a school to prison pipeline, because they go for 12 years and they have no skill. And most of them say, this ain't worth it. I'm not inspired by nothing that you teaching me. I don't see a future in this educate. Listen, man, I can see for generations and generations of poor, impoverished individuals in my family that education is not the key to success. That may have worked for Thurgood Marshall. That may have been true in Booker T. Washington's day. But that was true in their day because they wanted generations after us to follow into that quicksand of running in place and never getting no skill. That is not empowerment, y'all. So they getting all of the tools and the resources. What's this?
I'm shocked by Eric's success at this age compared to where I was.
Ohanian inspired a generation of smart, tech-savvy teens with his book, Without Their Permission.
He did what? He inspired them. This is how we use ET. He gave them a image. Image is everything, right? By beholding you become changed. He gave the young people an image of a young person who can become a millionaire without their permission. So it's saying, young people, to get this bread in this online community, I know they say you got to be 18 or older. He like, don't wait. This is basically what the book is saying. I didn't wait and I'm a multi-millionaire, right? Inspiration. Then when you apply coaching, that's what we do. Life coach. All things to all people, skills, empowerment. Then after we empower, Then after you empower, then you got to develop. The development is putting the skill that you acquired to service. Building. Not selfish gain. And this is where most people in our community fail. And this is why their system prospers. We get a little education. We get a promotion. We get some type of status. Most of us move out of our neighborhoods. Most of us run off. Everybody is trying to be like the Joneses. They put Trump in office because millions of people look up to that dude. Millions of people admire his business practices. That is what is wrong. The selfish, we call it code violation. Code violation. Capitalizing on dehumanization economically. CODE. Capitalizing on dehumanization economically. Code violation. So they've created a model where kill or be killed. Only the strong survive. There's no type of business ethics. Turn a profit for your shareholders by any means necessary. This is the culture. And then we compete when individuals do try and go and become prosperous. They get into that race. We've collected a network of individuals who have made multi-millions of dollars at the same time producing, some of them produce millionaires, but producing prosperity in others. They made their millions. We call it a top 3% access network because we give people access to their blueprint. And just like he is seeing an image of somebody that he could see and emulate, it says, by beholding you become changed. The reason our communities look the same way that they do for the past 400 years is because we're not giving them the image of the business model that the Creator gave us for prosperity. We trying to run the rat race in the business model that they giving us. We always gonna lose when we play their game. And we have learned that there is not a door that we have not been able to, listen, man, when they cut off the arts and they cut off recess during the recession, we had kids around the country in mentoring programs. Everybody was just starting to talk about STEM technology. Man, the Creator opened the doors for us to create a science, technology, engineering, arts, and math program in the heart of Orlando, Florida. Pine Hills, Paramore, Washington Shores, the kids at Jones High School, Evans High School, Memorial Middle School. These are some of the worst schools on the west side of Orlando. These kids is coming into a computer lab that an individual said, listen, man, if I put a bunch of Mac computers with all type of Avid and graphics and all type of, I want to make this investment and make it available to the kids. And on top of that, I want to annually take a group of these kids down and expose them to robotics surgery. and let them know that this is a profession that they can be the heads in. Listen, man. When you take the creator's business model to serve, you're going to rule. And our children will rule as well because that's the model that they're seeing.
"21st century will be made, not managed." Eric read it, then took a $1,000 check his grandmother had given him at Easter and invested it in the online currency Bitcoin.
I just thought it was just such an amazing tool. It's going to be really big.
You hit the jackpot.
I hit the jack.
All right. So we got a young multimillionaire who inspired him and gave him some knowledge about an online place. Once again, it's access to a whole nother set of resources. I keep telling y'all, they make sure that these individuals have access to resources. That's all it. Listen, man. No community that I've ever worked in. I worked in Chicago. I worked in the worst neighborhoods in Chicago. Listen, when our people in the worst neighborhoods have access to resources, they do the same things better. All I'm saying is we got to give our people the opportunity to compete. We got to remove the obstacles, like the creator said. Forbid them not. Get out of their way. It's our job as gatekeepers to remove the obstacles to prosperity. The natural, automatic, God-given prosperity that he has set aside for his children will automatically take place when we remove the obstacles. Our problem is acquiesce. We acquiesce to the system, which means we've bought into the system, which means we've given our approval for the oppression of our own children. We've given the approval for the bondage and the slavery, for the generational curses of poverty. We have given our stamp of approval and endorsement on slumlords, on gentrification, on the school to prison pipeline, on the prison industrialized complex, on the war on drugs. We have given and signed a contract saying we endorse that. And we're responsible for the blood that flows in the streets. That's called an accomplice. When somebody goes and kills somebody, even if you did not pull the trigger, if you are the accomplice, this is what acquiesce, the definition of acquiescence is saying. Whatever actions I do and whatever blood I spill, you are signing your contract, a contract with me, saying, I'm your accomplice. So this man, at 12 years old, his grandmother gave him $1,000. Okay. We created a system. We making these videos right now to let y'all know. This summer, we usually do a 6-week skills and drills camp. All right. This summer, I'm trying to do multiple inspirational and empowerment, development, and this year is We are saying, and we challenging individuals to sponsor the kids in these programs. We got the mentors for them. We have the successful individuals in that. Some come from the Bronx, some come from Maryland, some come from Philly, some come from, listen, DC. Same places our people come from. The same slums, the same everything. Multi-millionaires, millionaires, or top 3% income earners. Gonna sit down and mentor these kids. And what, not just kids, the family. He said, rebuild the old waste places. He commanded us to rebuild. Rebuild what? The enemies who have attacked my promised land city. He was talking about Jerusalem. You know, every time Jerusalem fall into acquiesce to the kingdoms around them, they come in and attack. And when they attacked, they would always destroy the walls and destroy the temple. So then when his people got back, when he got a group of gatekeepers who was going to go and do their job and stand on watch and guard, he then gave those gatekeepers the command, all right, you're going to protect the people within the city. I'm going to give you the resources to rebuild. Go rebuild the old waste places that they destroyed. He's commanded us. He's given us the ability. We just asking, yo, we don't deal with no corporate entities. I'm going to show you why. We don't listen. We deal mano y mano. They say corporations are people too. A corporation has no soul. A corporation has no morals. A corporation has no character. Corporations do what they do to generate profits for the shareholders by any means necessary. We ain't dealing with no corporations. We coming to the people who God has called to rebuild. And we saying, we got inspirational materials. We got t-shirt, we rebranded, we everything. Listen. It's time to invest. Just like they created a school to millionaire pipeline, what I'm saying is we are building the same school to millionaire pipeline to compete and destroy prosperity inequality. It takes investment though. At 12 years old, his grandmama gave him $1,000, and because he had a mentor in place that could inspire him and then give him the skills and the ability and the knowledge that he needed. My people perish for lack of knowledge. My people perish for lack of vision. We done erased all of those obstacles. We got the vision, we got the knowledge, we got the track record. And all of us individually had the resources. We gonna go get 500 individuals. And we gonna put and give access to the same model, from the $1,000 to the mentor to the skills and drip. We gonna, and over the next, we do 90-day cycles. Break the cycle. Make a new cycle. Take the lead in the cycle. A little child shall lead them. Take the lead in the cycle. LEAD stands for Layish Economic Asset Development. Layish Economic Asset Development. They get tangible business plan where they can have a benchmark 5-year business plan. It's no program out here like this in the country. Nowhere. We just gonna get these sponsors. And we're gonna show to the world. The only reason the slums look the way they are is because of the man-made disasters. And the only way to clean up a man-made disaster is for other men and women to come in, put in the work. So $1,000 given to him at 12, he gonna tell you turned into $100,000. He took that $100,000 and his mentor showed you how to build an online community. Now today, this dude, he dropped out of high school, is a multimillionaire.
A jackpot worth $100,000. Eric was hooked. His next venture was inspired by feeling stuck in school in northern Idaho, where he couldn't find enough interesting subjects to satisfy his curious mind.
You can choose to register as a student.
All right. Let me show you what injustice looks like. Then I'm gonna let y'all go. Where you at, man?
Culinary variety and the home of the Montreal Canadiens. This is the Money and Business Show with your host, Samuel Zerzer. Every week, Samuel and his guests discuss money, investments, financial services, and the world economy. Over the next hour, you can have your questions about business and personal finances answered. So call 514-738-4100, extension 200, to speak with Samuel and his guest. And now, here is the host of the Money and Business Show, Samuel Zerzer.
This show on Radio Shalom, CJRS 1650 AM. Thank you for tuning in live on the Money Biz Show with our business studios. Washington, right? If I'm not correct,
right.
And
I checked out probably about 20-25.
Mediation efforts as a basis for leniency in the terms imposed.
Here it is.
Funding it, and these giant banks that are funding it. Do we have any of these banks go?
All right, so this is the epitome of injustice. This is the epitome of what every human being in America, barring none, should, after seeing this every day, your life must be you must live your life in protest. So all of the stories, all of the labels and the branding that they put on our community, the thugs, the criminals, the gang bangers, the pimps, the prostitutes, the robbing, the stealing, the poverty, everything. This is going to show not only is it a man-made disaster, but it's going to, the dots keep going back to the same exact source. The man-made disaster of the war on drugs. The whole operation was not just manufactured on purpose. Not just, it wasn't just enough to flood the drugs and the guns in the community. This is going to show that the banks, the biggest bank in the world, and nobody even knows this bank, the biggest bank in the world, profited off of laundering the drug money. So this is the reason that the drugs flow into our country at the massive proportions that they do, is because these banks were making sure that the money was clean for the cartels and terrorists. And then you have mandatory minimums, 5, 10, 15, 20-year sentence, mandatory. Getting caught with crack cocaine. Mandatory minimums. Getting caught with a gun to protect yourself from moving the crack cocaine that they done put in the incarcerated 3 or 4 times more. Not just that, the unemployment rate is dang near double and triple of any other group in the country. So if you're sitting in school, this is what fuels the school to prison pipeline. If you are sitting in school and you know that almost 60% of those who have college degrees, bachelor's and master's degrees, are unemployed and underemployed, people with master's degrees, it's a fact. Almost 60% unemployed, underemployed. They've shipped all of the jobs overseas since the 70s. Globalization is what they call it. Our people in the hood know. Our people in the hood know. Like, listen, man. Even if I sit here and I go to college, they fighting against the minimum wage. I'm going to be working somewhere for 10, 15, 12, 13, $14 an hour, which you cannot live on. The schools that we in are filled with metal detectors, terrible teachers, horrible curriculums. So by the time cats get, people don't even know that by the time our students hit the 5th grade, the math changes substantially. It's called the forgotten middle. The curriculum changes. Kids who's getting A's, B's, 4th grade, they get to 5th grade. Mind you, parents don't know how to do that math. Most people done drop. I mean, most people got generations of high school dropouts. So it gets harder in the 5th grade, harder in the 6th grade. Science, harder. 5th, slower, you getting back. Them A's and B's turn to C's and D's. 7th grade, you starting to fail. 8th grade, you starting to fail. They falling behind. It's called the forgotten middle. They target all of the college prep stuff at the 11th and 12th grade. The forgotten middle says they forget in the middle on purpose, because that fuels the school to prison pipeline. They know when these kids get to the 9th grade and they 3 and 4 grades behind math, science, and reading, teacher calling on you in class. What's this answer? Come up to the board. Come up to the board? What? I'm 3, 4 grades behind. Y'all been passing me. Y'all been passing me through 4th, 5th, 6th. Now I'm in the 9th grade. You want me to do some pre-calculus, some chemistry, some anatomy. You got to be kidding me. It's all orchestrated. And on top of that, they sitting there going through that. And then we got this going on. The schools is created. We got the police. They writing tickets in middle school. In our middle schools only. The kids scribble on the desk, suspended, truancy ticket. Late to school, truancy ticket. You know what a truancy ticket means? You go to court. It's called the school to prison pipeline for a reason. Don't get in a fight. Don't get caught with a dime bag of weed. Don't get jumped in school. Don't let a child be being bullied in school and bring a weapon to school. It's called the school to prison pipeline for a reason. We have police in our schools. Why? Because they want these kids to get into an altercation. They taking them right to the jail. Used to go talk to the principal. They used to send you down to the guidance counselor. They give our kids a truancy ticket. Send them to court. And if they come to court enough times with enough truancy tickets, the judge sentences and remands them to custody. And then they got to walk out in the streets and have the bankers doing this. They got to walk out on the street and had a president, Ronald Reagan and George Bush, enter into agreements with Iran and the Sandinistas in Nicaragua to bring drugs That's called injustice. We the organization that we out here, we ready to do something about it. We're trying to find some people who, after you see this, ready to do something about it.
Go to jail. Now, we recently had as I was telling you just before the break, we've seen time and again some of the largest banks in America involved in money laundering with drug cartels, some of the largest drug cartels, some of the largest drug busts. We've seen tremendous amounts of money involved, and yet we haven't seen anybody from any of these banks go to jail. Now, we recently had a money laundering case that was talked about in March of this year, and when it was brought up, the Attorney General decided that they were going to go very light on HSBC. And they gave them essentially a slap on the wrist. They fined them $1.9 billion, which sounds like a lot of money, but that was only 5 weeks worth of their income. And considering the amount of time that this had been going on and the details of what had happened, people were generally shocked at what happened. But then right after that, we saw the same thing happen with the LIBOR scandal involving huge amounts of money and manipulation of markets. And again, the Department of Justice just gave them a pass and said, these banks are too big to fail. We have to worry about the banks more than we have to worry about the integrity of our government, more than we have to worry about the safety and the security of our citizens, because, you know, the war on drugs and the war on terror, we're supposed to be fighting those, and yet it's the government that is funding it and these giant banks that are funding it. We have on line with us Everett Stern, and he was working at HSB. How you doing, Everett?
I'm good. How are you, sir?
Doing fine. Now, this case that just came out in March, they had been given a cease and desist order back in 2010. The money laundering had been going on from 2004 to 2010, and they said they were going to stop that. And that was part of the terms for why they went light on them. They, in the settlement agreements, they cited HSBC's cooperation and remediation efforts as a basis for leniency in the terms imposed, and yet you started after this cease and desist order was in, after they supposedly had taken measures to stop the money laundering. Tell us.
Let me clarify. So from 2004 to 2010, that's 6 years. They've been laundering this, listen, 6 years. So if $1.9 billion fine is only 5 weeks worth of income, and they have been laundering money for 6 years. 1.9 billion is 5 weeks. Do the math. If you made 1.9 billion in 5 weeks and you got away with that for 6 years, do you care about 1.9 billion? Does that 1.9, that's like $1. Then in 2010, when they caught him and knew that they told him cease and desist means, said the federal government's like, listen, we know you doing this. Stop. After 2010, listen to what this man says. What this bank, HSBC. Now listen. You know you got HSBCUs, right? Historically black colleges and universities. This is HSBC Bank. And then we send our children to HSBCUs. This is the largest bank in the world. Of course, it's in Great Britain. Great Britain has always been the top leader colonizing in the United States of America on behalf of the treaty that the Vatican put in place. I already gave you the dates of the treaty. 1492. It always leads back to Great Britain. And Great Britain always leads back to the Vatican, because Emperor Constantine set up the Roman Western headquarters in Great Britain. The two greatest Caesar/popes in history, Julius Caesar and Emperor Constantine. Constantine set up shop in Great Britain. Great Britain will always have a prominent seat in the Vatican because Constantine's headquarters in the West was Great Britain. And so when the Vatican gave the choice lands for Britain to colonize, everybody, whatever Britain wanted, Britain got. All other kingdoms, because nobody was on the level of Constantine or Caesar. Caesar made his headquarters in France, the other colonizer in the United States of America. New Orleans, France. Caesar headquarters in Europe was Paris, France. And Constantine's headquarters of Rome in Europe was Great Britain. And everything that has happened in history has been told. Number one, they used the Bible to justify the injustice, as if slavery and the people of color was supposed to be enslaved because the word of God said so. And I already showed you that that ain't true. But this is current, present day, 2018, where they can't control us physically on the plantation. This is why the drugs. This is why they flood the community with drugs. To continue the prosperity inequality. We gotta control that group of masses some type of way. Crime, violence, bondage, slavery, mind control. When you walking around here doped up, high on drugs every day, trying to escape your reality, and then the banks is the ones propping up the cartels. Watch this dude's story. This is crazy.
Tell us about what you saw when you were there. Tell us about your experience and the experience of people that you saw that were hired there.
Yeah, sure. First, before I do that, if I can just comment that, what the Obama administration doesn't understand is that, by giving a slap on the wrist to these banks and by engaging in these deferred prosecution agreements, their concern is that it will cause a financial crisis if they criminally prosecute these banks. And what's not being understood here is that if there's another 9/11, that's going to cause another financial crisis. I think that's being missed. But when I started in October of 2010, I was part of the crew that was brought in to clean up their act, and what HSBC did.
So basically, he's saying this was Obama in office when this went down. When the Justice Department decided not to lock nobody up, because understand, George Bush handed over a collapsing economy to Obama in 2008. He walks into office in 2009 and the economy is... They had to do the bailouts, they had to save Ford, Chrysler, GM, and Obama's like, yo, they would love for it all to come crashing down on my watch. So the bankers is like, yo, we got a field day. I know he ain't going to put no type of regulations in place to shut it down, because he's scared that if he lock us up and the bank go under and then all of these other banks go under, of course they was going to blame him. and they flood our communities with drugs, and we the criminals. While they invest in their community, give them skills and mentors, and they drop out of high school and they drop out of college and become multimillionaires and billionaires. All I'm saying is, let's compete, family. Let's get off the sidelines. Let's get off the sideline. y'all gonna see we're gonna have families, multiple families. We ain't, yo, Pepsi, Nike, Adidas won't come nowhere near. Listen, these people on Facebook, you are Pepsi, you are Nike. Our community anteed up $20 here, $15 here, $30 there, and put Obama in the White House 2 times. All we saying is, nobody gotta kill themselves, but everybody has to take action to protest against this injustice, or we are guilty of acquiescing. And we just want to put a team together that does the same thing for the least of these among us that they do for elite chosen few. And then we're going to say, we're going to turn out, listen, we're going to say, yo, put your best business person up. Put your best little kid startup. We got 10 entrepreneurs in Chicago, 10 in Philly, 20 in Brooklyn, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Cleveland, Compton, all over the country. All over the country.
Was create a sham anti-money laundering compliance program. I mean, they went ahead and they took their department of 15 compliance officers, if you want to even call them that, and they sold off their credit card division to Capital One, fired a whole bunch of debt collectors and customer service reps, and then about a week later, they rehired them as anti-money laundering compliance officers, which is crazy, through transaction.
These are people who had no experience in money laundering, no experience in how to detect that, or they were just debt collectors that were rehired.
Right, exactly. I mean, to be honest with you, I wouldn't even trust them to collect debt. So, it's very, very concerning that they were going ahead to prove these transactions, but that's what HSBC wanted. They wanted a system that, and they encouraged a culture to facilitate terrorist financing and the financing of drug cartels.
Now, when you were there, what kind of work did they give you to do? I mean, did they give you any training once you got? You didn't have any experience in money laundering. Did they give you any training when they brought you in?
No. I mean, what I had to do when I got there was I went, because the main money laundering facility is in Newcastle, Delaware. So, but I went ahead and went to the University of Delaware Library, checked out as many books as possible on money laundering, and taught myself early in the morning, before work, and after. I figured out very quickly what they were doing. And I started reporting and passing information to the CIA 3 weeks in, and did that for over a year.
You didn't hear anything back from the CIA, and eventually you went to the FBI, and you also gave that information to them, and they were investigating HSBC for these very things at the time, and HSBC was under a cease and desist order, and yet, did you hear anything back from the FBI or the CIA?
I did not. I communicated with the FBI greatly, and they were just as upset with the deferred prosecution agreement as I was. My attorneys did file with the SEC to go after, asking the SEC and the Department of Justice to reopen the investigation into HSBC, because my evidence was not included in that deferred prosecution agreement. I recently met with the chair.
So for a whole year after federal government, it's like, listen, stop doing the illegal activity of You got HSBC banks down in Mexico, the Sinaloa cartel, Chapo Guzman, the number one. Listen, man, they did the same thing with Freeway Ricky Ross. They used Freeway, they gave him the drugs, they let him make millions and millions and millions of dollars. Then when they was finished using him and when they needed a scapegoat, they took down Freeway and threw him in jail. And then they went and hired a Chapo Guzman. So when they take down Chapo Guzman in 2011, 2012, trying to show like they fighting crime, listen, they just propping up the next Chapo Guzman that you don't know about, and they're gonna fund him, and they're gonna let his drugs come through, and they kept laundering these dudes, and the bank was in such cahoots that they made a special box that they could fill with hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they could just shove it into the teller window at the bank. So everybody in the bank, they see these drug cartels coming up 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times a day. Boom, cat, boom, boom. The hardest thing to do is clean the money. You get the drugs into America, but then they got to figure out how to get the money. Listen, when you selling millions and millions of dollars drugs, that's so much cash. And then you can't just run around spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on the street. That's red flags. But then the bank is going to say, yo, if you try to deposit over $10,000 in the bank, they're going to red flag you. They're going to come down, check all of your things, but they letting terrorists in. Like, this is injustice. That's all I'm saying. That's all we say. So, we're not asking nobody. We're not asking nobody to create no programs. We ain't asking. We are asking the athletes in our communities who can be coaches, who could be personal trainers, who could be mentors, who could work in these summer camps to come out. We want to hire them. We want to have the drills, skills and drills camp. Not just in the athletics, the people who want to go into the media production around telling these stories and putting the image out. That's a whole nother multi-trillion-dollar industry, the multimedia storytelling. Hollywood has put a negative image on our communities that our communities have bought. Our communities, they don't even know that banks and the government and all of this is funding war on drugs, the school to prison pipeline. So how do they get free? When people like us step up. We're doing everything. All we need is our peoples to break bread. Give us this day our daily bread. Give us this day our daily bread. these individuals, Robert Kennedy, stepped up, put his life on the line, and lost his life, trying to erase this prosperity inequality. Abraham Lincoln, same thing. Same thing. He did end the first federal bank that they had and gave the people back the ability to print these greenbacks. American currency, the greenback, bypassed these same banks that sit out in Europe and extract all of the resources. They killed him for it too. But this time, we have responded to the Creator calling us to the burning bush and saying, I have heard the cries of my children, and I have come down. Go set them free so that they can worship me. We just want you to be a part of that. Help us get the job done. Man, I had a flick in here about the school to prison pipeline. I'm going to show y'all real quick, but won't see it. That'll do it for right now. I'm going to come back tomorrow and I'll show you what Dr. Martin Luther King said about when he realized he was being used by the same system to lead us into the trap. And so, Rashika, I'm going to get into the Louis Farrakhan's and those embedded in our community. But Dr. King, when he realized he was being used by this civil rights movement, he said, man, I fear that I have led y'all into a burning building. But that's the beautiful thing about us being first responders. Hollywood first responders. Nobody can do what we do because nobody has the mandate and the command that we have. Nobody can do what Hollywood can do for the people. Daniel and the three Hebrew boys were able to do something for the people that nobody else could do. So when Dr. Martin Luther King had to exclaim, I fear that I have led you into a burning building, we stand up and we say, we are the first responders who are fireproof. We are the chosen children of God who have been given the ability to go and stand in the flames and come out purified. Is that not what the 3 Hebrew boys did? Dr. Martin Luther King exclaimed, I fear they have been using me to lead you into a burning building. But God said, perfect love cast out all fear. Perfect love cast out all fear. I don't need my children to fear the flames. I need my children to run the race and endure whatever trials may come your way. The moment you fear anything that is presented and put on your plate, that's the moment you doubt me and you no longer can pass the test of the flames. This is what Moses told the people in Deuteronomy chapter 5. He said, man, our ancestors had a fireproof covenant with the Creator. But the covenant that you get in here today, this is not the fireproof covenant our ancestors had. Because when God tried to speak to y'all through the flames, you were afraid it would not go up. So you sent me up because you was afraid. God said perfect love casts out all fear. The reason y'all didn't have perfect love because y'all know y'all still was harboring. Man, he brought us out here in the wilderness to die. We could go back to Egypt. They kept hitting God with, we could go back, we could go back, we could go back. Then the minute Moses took too long, they started worshiping the gods of Egypt again after being delivered. God like, nah, you can't be fireproof. Nope, y'all don't got the same relationship your ancestors used to have with me. You don't have that same relationship that Job had with me. Job was fireproof. Satan tested him and tested him and tested him. He came out on the other side. Yes, our people have been tested. Yes, our people are being sacrificed and slaughtered. But now is the time for them to be led through the flames, to come out the flames on the other side into the promised land. Exit. Brexit. Break away from the British exit. We breaking away from Britain's slavery and bondage. Brexit. British exit. The USA Brexit. We exited from the bondage and the slavery. And we going through the flames. The Egyptians could not come through the flames. Everywhere in the word, God has holy wood fire that doesn't consume his children. He called Moses to a burning bush that did not consume. Holy wood is home for us. I'm going to show y'all, man. We've been losing brothers and sisters, man. My main man, David Woodard, just passed away. David trained me as a lifeguard, certified me, gave me the skills to be a life guardian. And I've just taken every single gift, every single resource he's given me, and I've used it in the service to hand off to somebody in our community that would never, ever, ever get access to it, and watch how their life change. And I'm saying, if the rest of my family, my brothers and sisters, listen, I've had countless amount of our brothers and sisters already support. We wouldn't be where we are 21 years in the game without the support of our brothers and sisters. But we could finish this work. We could finish this work. We could do some damage to this system of injustice. Let me give you this last thing about this system. Let me give you this last thing about this system. They say that I'll give it to y'all tomorrow. Come back and check me out tomorrow. Come back and check me out tomorrow. Alright? We're just getting started. Listen. The greatest thing about this program that we're doing is the children that have come up in the program. My oldest X-Man was born when I first started collecting these access to these resources. But now they are at a point, the same age in our life when me and my wife started running this race to be first responders and serve in order to rule. So now when this generation that don't know nothing else but this, and when we give our kids and the kids that they grinded with this collection of resources, there's no better way to make a transformation. There's no better way to make a transformation in the lives of others than to put an image out there to show them that they can do it too. Our children are proof that everything I'm telling you works. Our children are proof. When we go into these communities, they were raised in Chicago. So when we take them back to Chicago, we let's say, ain't no excuse, bro. When we go to these kids in Orlando, we like, listen, man, you came up with them. There's no reason for you to be on these corners. You got the same access to everything that they got. This is how we penetrate the darkness. We just want y'all to help us spread these seeds. Break this bread. Feed 5,000. He the same yesterday, today, and forever. So it's time for this last generation to feed 5,000. Let's break this bread together, y'all. All right. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Peace.